For over a century, each November 11th, New Yorkers have gathered on Fifth Avenue to celebrate and honor our brave veterans. Under the United War Veterans Council, the parade has grown into the largest Veterans Day event in the nation, a world-class commemoration that salutes and spotlights America's heroes. This year's featured service branch is the U.S. Coast Guard, which since 1790 has safeguarded the American people and promoted security and prosperity on the seas, coastlines, and waterways of the United States and beyond. They will be led today by Grand Marshal Vincent Patton III, a former Master Chief Petty Officer of the Coast Guard and lifelong advocate for veterans and service members. Join us as ABC 7 salutes these courageous Americans and all who have served and sacrificed for our nation at the 103rd New York City Veterans Day Parade.
And welcome to Fifth Avenue under a light rain in New York's historic Flatiron District. What a thrill to be here to honor our veterans. I'm David Navarro.
And I'm Lauren Glassberg, and ABC is proud to bring this annual event to you live once again. And today, we have nearly 300 groups marching and 20,000 marchers, plus special guests from all of our military branches.
Yeah, on the red carpet right now, representatives from our allied nations, including Canada, France, Belgium, and the UK, joining United States Coast Guard Lieutenant Corinne and Powers, who will sing the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
What a beautiful way to start this day.
I have chills from that.
Right, it's beautiful. Forget the
Yeah.
rain. It's all about the honoring of the veterans. This parade would not be possible without the efforts of the United War Veterans Council. They work tirelessly throughout the year to support our veterans and to produce this inspiring event.
And the parade is about to step off. So let's welcome our 2022 Grand Marshal, Coast Guard veteran, Master Chief Vincent Patton III, and Commissioner of the New York City Department of Veterans Services, James Hendon.
It is a beautiful day in New York. Nothing stops our Coast Guardsmen, soldiers, sailors, guardians, airmen, Marines and their families, not even the rain. We can clap for that. Come on.
That's right.
Yeah. On behalf of the 110th Mayor of the City of New York, the Honorable Eric Leroy Adams, I hereby kick off the 2022 New York City Veterans Day Parade, honoring our featured branch, the United States Coast Guard.
Yeah.
Woo! This 103rd parade is the largest in the nation. Grand Marshal Vince Patton, the streets are yours.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, spectators, parade participants, don't worry about the rain, because in the Coast Guard, no one wants to be rescued in good weather. So as we start the parade, enjoy. Let the parade begin.
Wow, what a great way to start. I have to say that James Hendon had this adorable little kid on his shoulder.
Oh, that was a kid? I thought that was headgear for the rain. That was beautiful.
So cute. Very sweet
how
there.
Cute is that? We're kicking off this parade. We could not be happier. This is the biggest Veterans Day parade in the country. It's just such a wonderful event where we gather. And as you said, who cares about the rain? I've got an umbrella. We're going to have
you
a good
might get
time
a little damp.
That's
but,
all right.
But, you know, our hearts are warm today. Take a look at this flag, by the way, David. This is this flag. I'm going to give you some measurements. It is 60 by 30 feet, 90 pounds, and it's its 17th year in the parade. It's considered the Ground Zero Volunteers flag.
You know, it was first displayed at 1 Liberty Street, known as Brooks Brothers Building, on September 22nd, 2001. And since then, the flag has been presented for various causes worldwide. The original flag retired in 2011 when the name was changed to the Volunteers flag to honor the original flag. Let's take a moment just to take in a little of the sights here.
Beautiful.
And the original flag was returned in 2011 when the name was changed to Volunteer flag to honor the original flag.
So much pride, so much honor on the streets of Manhattan today. They're walking up Fifth Avenue, and a glorious moment for so many. It's time not only to remember those who are serving right now, but also those who have served in the past.
Of course, we want to remember our fallen soldiers and the soldiers and military members who have long passed, many years after they had served. And now we have the New York City Police Department band that is making its way. Here we are. Of course, this band serves under the New York City Police Department, and there are 70 members who are participating. The band is part of the New York Police Department ceremonial unit.
Yeah, no surprise, some of the members are also veterans, which is very common. The band's motto is serve, protect, and entertain. So they kind of cover all the bases there.
And they've come a long way. They started in 1991 with only 12 members, but of course 70 strong. And they perform in departmental ceremonies and parades like this one, community events across the city, but also in concerts around the world.
Let's give everybody a little taste of it. Listening to the NYPD's marching band. I hope the sheet music, Lauren, is waterproof, because you see how some of the rain coming down. It's not bad, but it's enough to cause issue for
You know, I think they probably performed in worse weather. At least it's kind of warm as they make their way up Fifth Avenue. They've got about a mile to go, right?
That's the silver lining. It's very comfortable in that respect.
Yeah.
You know what? We have so much in store during today's parade, and covering much of the action down on Fifth Avenue are two more members of our team, Stefan Kim and Elise Zwick. Stefan, over to you.
Well, David and Lauren, hello. I am Stefan Kim with Eyewitness News. I'm also an Army Reserve veteran, so it is always a very big special honor and privilege to be here with you all on this day. A very happy Veterans Day to all of my fellow battle buddies out there. But my battle buddy here on Fifth Avenue, I will kick it over now to the always fabulous Elise Zwick.
Well, thank you so much, Stefan. Happy Veterans Day to you, and thank you for your service. Happy Veterans Day, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm Elise Zwick, veterans advocate and spokesperson of the United War Veterans Council. It's an absolute honor to be here on Fifth Avenue honoring service today. My grandfather, he was a World War II veteran, very involved in this parade. We miss him every day. My uncle served in the Air Force, and my other uncle also served in the Army, so it is my duty to improve the quality of life for our service members. So happy Veterans Day to all. Thank you to all of those who have served, who are serving, and to your families. And this year, we honor the U.S. Coast Guard. And with that, I have a very special guest with me, Admiral Stephen Poulin. He is the 33rd Vice Commandant of the Coast Guard, and Master Chief Jones. Gentlemen, first of all, thank you for your service and thank you for being here with us today. What does it mean to you this year that we are honoring the Coast Guard?
Well, first, let me thank you for your legacy of service and what you're doing to support our veterans. It means a lot. We are just so incredibly honored to be here in New York City. This is the birthplace of the United States Coast Guard, so it's really special that the Coast Guard's the honored service today. We love this community. This is a Coast Guard city, so we couldn't be more pleased and just thrilled to be here.
And let's talk about the workforce initiative of the Coast Guard. I know you know more about that. Fill us in.
No, we have the world's greatest workforce. We absolutely, the women and men of the Coast Guard are the best in the world at what they do. And they make us proud every single day as we get to travel around the world, because we truly are a worldwide Coast Guard, and they inspire us to work harder for them every day.
And how does serving your country switch into civilian life in the Coast Guard or from the Coast Guard?
Well, we try to do as much as we can to prepare people for transitioning out of the Coast Guard, right? I mean, when you're all in the Coast Guard, you're in. You're focused on, we say, be brilliant on the basics. But then when it comes time for people to leave, and we hope we retain as many people as possible, retention's a strategic imperative for us, we want to help them transition to that civilian service. And not surprisingly, most people continue to serve in other aspects, whether they're police, firefighters, educators. So we think that there's just something about Coast Guard DNA of a military service in general, that just prompts people to continue to serve and give back.
And how have the events of the past few years impacted the Coast Guard here in New York and in the country?
Well, your Coast Guard stands ready to respond to any emergency, any crisis, any threat. We like to say that we protect America from threats delivered by the sea, we protect those on the sea, and we protect the sea itself. And I will tell you, we have a ready, resilient Coast Guard. We're building Coast Guard capability. As Master Chief said, we are globally deployed, but our focus remains protecting American sovereignty and national interests.
Well, thank you both again for being here. It is an honor. And I'll send it back over to Lauren and David in the booth.
Awesome. You know, right now you're looking at the United Naval Sea Cadet Corps. It's the Navy's youth development program, giving young Americans skills, knowledge, confidence through an amazing variety of training opportunities.
Like to listen to those bagpipes following them.
The Sea Cadet Color Guard cadets marching in formation represent thousands of Sea Cadets across America. In addition to participating in honoring our veterans, Sea Cadets celebrated 60th year of creating a new generation of leaders. And they were escorting our Grand Marshal, who we just met, Vince Patton, who alum of the Sea Cadet Corps, and we're hoping to talk to him a little bit later during the parade to hear his story.
And you might have noticed that he went by a short time ago in a Spirit of 76 El Dorado. That's a Cadillac. So he's traveling Fifth Avenue in grand style today.
We're gonna go on a break, but before we go, we want you to, especially if you know someone here at the parade, or you're just watching at home, to use the social media tag hashtag NYC Vets Day. Spread the word. You can also go to nycvetsday.org to learn more information. We have much more of the Veterans Day Parade in New York City when we return.
We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the 103rd New York City Veterans Day Parade, broadcast live on Channel 7. What a beautiful day if you're a duck or if you're a veteran, because really it doesn't matter if it's raining or not. We have our umbrellas, the veterans have their gear. We're all having a good time to celebrate and honor the men and women who have served and who are currently serving right now.
It is a beautiful day in the sense that patriotism is on full display. Take a look at what we're seeing right now. We have a number of FDNY trucks coming through honoring not just the firefighters, but many of them were also veterans.
Yeah, to honor the sacrifice of the veterans, Mayor de Blasio created the Department of Veteran Services in 2016, making DVS the first standalone city agency in the country dedicated to serving veterans. and their families. And since that time, the agency has moved quickly to connect, mobilize, and empower New York City veteran community in order to foster basically a purpose-driven lives. And right now you're looking
at this.
at
This
a
is
wonderful
the Coast
flyover
Guard.
provided by the Coast Guard. Thank you. They don't care that there's a little rain.
Yeah.
This is the U.S. Coast Guard Air Station Cape Cod, the only Coast Guard aviation facility in the Northeast.
And somebody was saying earlier, you don't want the Coast Guard saving you in good weather. That shows that you're probably not a great boatsman.
That's true.
Right?
True. They left
so-
at this little drizzle we're dealing with right now.
So there was the Coast Guard aviation unit coming in from Cape Cod.
It's just so wonderful and such a great day for us to, our chance, I should say, to honor our veterans today. You know, Veterans Day, it started out as Armistice Day. On the 11th hour, 11th day of the 11th month of 1918, the armistice signaled the end of World War I. It went into effect. And in commemoration of that historic moment, at 11 a.m. this morning, we began the festivities with a wreath-laying ceremony and moment of silence. More than 100 years after the armistice, we continue to celebrate our veterans each November 11th. And we also pause to remember all those who made the ultimate sacrifice in defense of our freedoms.
Beautiful, and so many wreaths, really quite beautiful.
I believe we're looking at now
Veterans Day, New York's boldest, honoring all who served. Coming along Fifth Avenue here. So of course today's parade would not be possible without the support of our amazing sponsors, including longtime loyal sponsor JP Morgan Chase. The company's efforts on behalf of veterans are quite extraordinary, and not just on Veterans Day, but 365 days a year. And it is our pleasure to welcome Managing Director and Global Head of Military and Veterans Affairs at JP Morgan Chase, Mark Elliott. Thank you so much for joining us today.
And thank you.
I know that your outreach to veterans continues throughout the year, but tell me a little bit about why celebrating veterans of our military is such a key focus for JP Morgan.
Yeah, it's really, Lauren, an opportunity for us to say thank you. You often hear that less than 1% serves. We like to think about we're the 99% that's got your back when you serve. And so we put a number of different programs in place to help facilitate that transition out of the military. And, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, I wore that uniform. I have a daughter that wears that uniform, and many family members. So it's really part of our firm's DNA, and it's part of my DNA.
You know, you did that for 3 decades, correct?
It was
so
a
you
while.
have walked the walk. And when you see veterans coming in and looking for jobs and looking for career advancement, how do you help?
Yeah, you know, David, one of the challenges that service members have is finding their worth, finding their value once they take the uniform off. When you think about it, many left high school and went into the military or right out of college. So that's all they've known. And you talked about my time in the military. It was a family. And so now it's how do we help them find this new family called corporations and jobs and businesses. And that's what we focus on, helping them make that transition. And we put programs in place to make and facilitate that transition. Right. And I think it's important because you don't know what you don't know.
Right, exactly.
I think most companies would be honored to have veterans working with them. We know that you've worked so hard when you were in the military, and you could do equally as challenging work when you're in the private sector.
Definitely.
So we appreciate your efforts helping veterans get them employed and support them throughout that. And for folks who want to learn more, could you give us a website?
If you go to jpmorganchase.com/veterans, and you will find everything you want to know about, you know, how to support our veterans.
Mark, thank you, and thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And thank you
what
for
you're
having
doing
us.
for the veterans. So appreciated. Well, you are watching the 103rd Annual Veterans Day Parade on ABC 7. We'll be right back after this small break. Welcome back to the 2022 New York City Veterans Day Parade here on Channel 7. What parade would be complete without the bagpipes, the NYPD bagpipes? Just such a wonderful ceremony. You know, today we're also lucky to have two special co-hosts joining us during our broadcast. The first is U.S. Marine Corps veteran and Executive Director of the United War Veterans Council, Mark Otto. Mark, good to have you back.
Thanks, Dave. It's great to be back.
That's awesome.
We're so happy to have you. The War Veterans Council not only produces this parade, but also provides a robust range of health and wellness programs for veterans year-round. So you founded these programs. What motivated you to do so? What were you seeing that you knew you needed to offer these?
So before I took over the United War Veterans Council, I was a longtime trader on the New York Stock Exchange. And that was sort of my tie-in to being integrated in the veterans community. Veterans that were coming home trying to get jobs on Wall Street, I was mentoring them. And that's when I sort of found out about some of the issues that were going on with veterans. And I wanted to do my part. You know, I fought in the Panama Invasion when I was 19. I was in Desert Storm when I was 20. So later on in life, I was dealing with issues with post-traumatic stress. I went through the VA for treatment for about 6 months. And coincidentally, I met folks that were starting equine farm for veterans. And then everything sort of built out from there. And it was all organic. It was beautiful because the whole program takes place in the Navesink River area in New Jersey, about an hour south of here.
Awesome.
And it's built out to now we're doing sailing in the summers. We have art therapy for veterans. We actually have gone from equine therapy to horseback riding with the veterans. So it's a pretty robust program. But even more beautiful is the local community has really gotten involved too. So John Bon Jovi, the rock singer, he's got a restaurant down by us.
Yeah.
Most people don't know that John's parents were actually in the Marine Corps. That's how they met.
Right.
So his dad loves to come out and cook, and he talks to the guys, and they've all met John. But you know, Jersey Mike's and a couple, Texas Roadhouse, they're all involved as well.
I gotta do a little bragging right now, real quick, because last time I told you my niece was a lieutenant in the Marines.
That's right.
Now she's a captain, getting promoted. Way to go! She's in Quantico. And not only that, my cousin is a lieutenant commander in the U.S. Navy. So you know,
outstanding.
We got it. You come from a long line of military families. So why? Tell me a little bit about why service is so important to you and your family.
So I was brought up to be really patriotic. You know, I'm sixth in my family, the sixth New Yorker to actually serve in the military. The other 5 in the Army. But we go all the way down to World War I. My great-great-uncle.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, Charles Otto. He fought with the New Yorker division in Europe. And then my grandfather, my granduncle were there. And then my dad did 3 tours in Nam, and my uncle did 2 tours in Nam.
Wow. Tell us a little bit about some of the people who are participating right now. We're looking at the Order of Purple Heart.
Yeah.
What do you know about them? Tell us, put some attention on it.
So Military Order of the Purple Heart. So everyone knows the Purple Heart is the oldest award for combat in the United States military for wounded veterans. So that's a very distinguishable medal that everybody recognizes, even if you're not in the military. Purple Heart's a very, very big deal. But it's self-explanatory. That is for a combat wounded veteran.
It's the oldest military award, correct?
Absolutely. Yep.
Incredible.
Now, Mark, you've been doing a bit of traveling as an ambassador. Tell me a little bit about that experience for you.
So I'm sort of like the foreign exchange student of the parade, which is really cool, right? So in 2018, I connected in a pub down on Stone Street with these Irish veterans. And I said, how come you don't
Because that's what you do in a pub.
That's right. Well, the Marine Corps was founded in the pub, right? So
there
it all fits together.
It does come together.
So I met these Irish veterans, and I said, what are you doing here? And they're like, we're here for the St. Patrick's Day Parade. I said, how come you guys don't march in the Veterans Day Parade? And they said, no one's ever asked us.
Wow.
I said, consider yourself asked. And
you are invited.
Yeah, so the next thing they said is you have to come across for the Queen's birthday. I didn't know which Queen, but I just said yes. And I was like, I'm going. So in 2018.
Always say yes to those
right.
invitations, by the way.
I've been going across to the Queen's birthday in England for the Trooping of the Colours ceremonies, 2018, 2019. Sadly, I just went this past year. It was their last one. Next year, I'll be there for the King's first one, but I also have been to Bella Woods. I've been to Normandy for the D-Day ceremonies. It's amazing. We make all these connections, and then those veterans are actually marching in the parade today.
Wow.
All right, so
right now we see Operation Mend. That's put on by UCLA. It was established in 2007 as a partnership between UCLA Health and the United States military. They provide advanced surgical and medical treatment, comprehensive psychological evaluation and support, and intensive treatment programs for symptoms related to PTSD, and traumatic brain injury for post 9/11 service members, veterans, and their families. Really doing great work.
You know, Mark, providing a safety net to the vets is so much a critical part of what we're doing today, isn't it?
Absolutely. When you think about it, especially, you know, we have vets from every generation, but I love to think about my friend Walter, who was in World War II and flew 35 B-24 missions in the Pacific and made it home. So he's been coming to the parade for the past 4 years, but you have to think about it, especially for our greatest generation. This might be their last big hurrah, their big memory that they're going to have.
I just want to take a moment and interrupt because this is kind of an interesting festival. This is an autonomous, this is a drone boat.
That is pretty cool.
Right? Nobody, they don't put a person in there. This thing goes on remotely controlled.
It's a drone boat,
yeah, it's got
and
a drone
it's a 29-foot metal shark autonomous research vessel named RDC Research Vessel Dolph. Is that short for dolphin? I wonder. Being used to test and evaluate current and new developments in autonomous watercraft capabilities.
I just always get
That's
it.
like a really big remote control boat.
Yeah. It's, you know,
Probably very
imagine the little boats at Central Park in the lake and then multiply it.
Now take a look at this. U.S. Coast Guard band making its way up Fifth Avenue.
You know, the Coast Guard Ceremonially Honor Guard serves the Military District of Washington, the Commandant of the Coast Guard, and all fallen Coast Guard men and women. The unit is on call year-round to perform ceremonies in the U.S. and abroad. Today, they're going to perform a silent drill. Let's watch.
This Honor Guard performs in excess of 1,600 ceremonies annually. The Honor Guard is comprised of approximately 80 members, and the remaining members of the Honor Guard are first tour non-rated personnel coming directly from Training Center Cape May. Well, Honor Guard personnel typically serve a 2-year tour duty with this group.
Mark, I'm always impressed, and it's just remarkable the discipline that, you know, is involved in doing something like
You
that.
realize there's a knife at the end of that.
Yes, we call them bayonets, but yes, you're fairly accurate.
I knew it was a bayonet, but I'm looking when they're flipping that around. It's not like a baton in a cheerleading squad there. That's a little dangerous. So the official song of the U.S. Coast Guard is Semper Paratus, which means always ready, an ideal motto for this service branch. And here to play it, as you see, we're getting ready for the U.S. Coast Guard Band. 55-member ensemble. They performed at some of the most prestigious venues in the nation, including the John F. Kennedy Center for Performing Arts, Lincoln Center, and Carnegie Hall.
Let's listen in.
Next up is the U.S. Coast Guard Candidate School and NOAA Basic Officer Training.
And you were just watching the U.S. Coast Guard Band, and you're watching more of the Coast Guard, the featured branch in this year's 103rd New York City Veterans Day Parade. We'll be right back.
Welcome back, everyone. You are watching the 2022 Veterans Day Parade live from New York's 5th Avenue on ABC 7.
This year, nearly 300 marching bands, nearly 200,000 participants marching up 5th Avenue in the nation's largest Veterans Day event. I'm David Navarro and Lauren Glassberg, and we're not worried about a little drizzle out there right now.
What's
it's
a
all
little
good.
drizzle?
Right, we got our umbrellas, we got our raincoats, we got Mark Otto.
Right,
we're
and
good to go.
It's fairly warm in New York City for this time of year, so even though there's a little drizzle, we will manage.
Yeah, we call this infantry weather.
I was saying, everybody here's laughing at this right now. It's not even a factor.
They're calling us wimps, in other words.
Wait, before we go to our
look
next
at
guest, what do we got here? You know, is this one of those autonomous boats? I don't think so. This is one, it's clearly got people on it.
This is the response boat, the U.S. Coast Guard response boat, small number 2, also known as the RBS number 2. It's a small vessel in service in the U.S. Coast Guard, and it performs a variety of missions and it oversees ports, waterways, coastal security, law enforcement, counter-narcotics operations, search and rescue, migrant interdiction, and environmental response operations. So they use it in quite a number of ways.
Right. This is awesome.
Our next guest, by the way, passionate about veterans and military issues, and as proven by his work as chairman of Global Brokerage and head of the Veterans Initiative Program at Cushman & Wakefield. Here with us now is Bruce Mosler. And Bruce, thank you. I know it's a little loud. We have a band next to us. I hope you can hear us well.
We'll improvise.
Right. It is a parade, Bruce. It is a parade.
It's a great parade.
Yeah, right? It's so great to have you here. Tell us a little bit about your efforts in a day like this.
Well, let's talk about the day first. The Veterans Day is a day that we remember the half of the 1%, that whenever our nation asks, who shall go for us, who shall we send, it's that half of the 1% who serve who always raise their hand and say, send me, I will go. So it's a day to remember those that help preserve our freedoms and those that help us do what we all do every day and love to do.
Well said.
And when you're talking about people who are so committed to our country and have that can-do mentality, why does that work so well in the workforce?
Yeah, thank you. That's an outstanding question. And it's very simple. Those that have learned and trained under teamwork, those that have worked under pressure, I think we can say that if you've seen battlefield action, served in the military, you understand what teamwork and professionalism are all about. We know as corporate citizens that those people outperform their peers in the workplace. So I have always said, do not hire a veteran for charitable purposes. Hire them because they're going to improve the morale, the character, and the bottom line of your company. That's the reason to hire your veterans.
That's a great point. You know, you were probably walking up here, and I mentioned to Mark that my niece, very proud of her, just got promoted to captain, and she's in the Marines. And so she, she was talking to me recently, and she said, I'm wondering what I'll do when I leave the Corps, and when I go into civilian life. I'm thinking about it right now, and there's so many options. And I didn't know how to guide her because I said to her, you can do anything. Literally can do anything. So when you get a candidate like that comes to you and to your company at Cushman & Wakefield, what do you tell someone like that?
So the first thing we try to do is we get to the military bases. We try to educate our military about just how formidable their resume really is. And the challenge for us is to make sure that they get to the right place within a company that has multifaceted skills as Cushman Wakefield, multifaceted service lines, if you will. What we tell them is you are far more valuable than you think, and what we do is help them translate their resumes into the right position in the right organization wherever they may be. And I will simply say this: if you can run a nuclear reactor on an aircraft carrier, you can manage a very large portfolio for Cushman & Wakefield. We're delighted to have you.
That is terrific, Bruce. Thank you for putting it in context. We appreciate you being here with us and supporting this event every year. Bruce Mosler from Cushman & Wakefield, chairman of Global Brokerage.
Great. Let's take you right now down to the parade route with Stefan Kim. Stefan.
Well, David, you know, when I was an NCO in the Army Reserve, we would say that when we see this much rank and this much brass, we'd stand a few inches taller. In fact, am I even allowed to speak to you, sir, without being told at ease?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, joining us now is Major General Rodney Falk. He's the commanding general of the 99th Readiness Division of the U.S. Army Reserve. Happy Veterans Day. Thank you for being here. You know, so many people don't realize there's so many different MOSs, military occupational specialties, in the Army. Can you give us an idea of all the different career options for the young men and women who may be interested in joining the Army?
Absolutely. So most people don't realize that anything you can do in the civilian world, you can probably do in the Army and the Army Reserve. So for example, in the Army Reserve alone, you have engineering, various flavors, military police, you have a lot of medical, and you have logistics is a huge branch in the Army Reserve, just to name a few. So, you know, the Army doesn't expect you to come in and already be an expert. The Army is going to train you for all of that. So there's great synergy with the civilian world. And we like to say our soldiers, our citizen warriors are a dual threat.
Final question to you, an easy one, an important one. How can civilians support our men and women in uniform?
Events like today, just say thank you. And as far as the employers go, I mean, you know, every soldier has got an employer in civilian life, and so just support their ability to serve and help them defend you.
Major General Rodney Falk, thank you so much for joining us. Happy Veterans Day. Thank you. Back to you guys.
And it is so important to support veterans and those in the military.
And as you can see from this T-Mobile group that's gathered, their float, they're among those who are supporting.
If you are just tuning in, you are watching the 103rd Annual Veterans Day Parade along 5th Avenue in New York City, and we will be coming back with much more. Stay with us. Day Parade live from New York City's 5th Avenue. You are looking at the 99th Readiness Division Joint Band. The Army bands of the 99th Readiness Division include 3 units, the 78th, the 198th, and the 380th Army bands.
All right, officially we are now in a parade.
Yeah.
This is the telltale sign. Also, you know what? We're really excited to welcome our next guest. Many of you know him from his celebrated television career, including as a Navy SEAL on SEAL Team. But his advocacy for veterans extends far beyond the screen. Friend of Wounded Warrior Project, TV celebrity, and New York City Veterans Day Parade ambassador. We'd like to introduce you to David Borinaz. David, good to have you here. What does it mean to be here,
It's
Dave?
fantastic. Thank you so much for having me. I mean, I'm getting shades of my father doing the Thanksgiving Day Parade in Philadelphia, but I'm so happy to be here on Veterans Day, and I want to do a big shout out to all the veterans out there, and thank you from our heart to you, and I think Veterans Day should be every day. So
we mentioned, David, we mentioned SEAL Team,
yes.
Of course, your show, and your character on this show experienced some mental health struggles. That is not unlike what we hear a fair number of veterans struggle with when they come back and they're back in the private sector. How has that impacted your work that you do with the Wounded Warrior Project?
It's really about understanding integration back, right? It's really understanding about how they're integrating back into their environment, whether it's the family sector or where they may be, and getting an understanding of what that is all about. For me, it's understanding what chaos is all about. A lot of these guys, men and women, have such a high level of intensity of chaos, and that chaos can bring such a part of making wrong decisions and finding themselves in a big conflicting area that they shouldn't be in. So understanding what that chaos is all about and finding the right help. You know, some organizations like Wounded Warriors and reaching out, and us as a community, right? Our branches to bring them into these places. So it's really about, you know, integrating for them and also understanding and listening to them.
Yeah, we're trying to encourage during this broadcast and on the parade, the buddy check system.
Yep.
You know, check in with your volunteer, with a fellow, and even if your family, whether you served or didn't. I'm curious to know, you know, your show really prides itself in trying to be realistic in terms of what it's like to be in the military, to be a member of the SEAL team. What was the takeaway? Because you must deal with the real deal to get to that point. What has that experience been like for you?
It's been phenomenal. It's an extraordinary experience from day one into where we are now, finishing our 6th season. For me personally, very humbling to be able to hear their stories and also get an insight into what it means to go into an operation or a mission, what their sacrifices are, how they have to leave their families behind and not be able to tell them where they're going. Like, hearing those types of stories from me and portraying that and giving that back to people that are out there and watching it, for them is a little light to understand of what they go through. And for me, that's a big blessing to be able to do that.
Maybe we can ask Mark here, the buddy check system, why is that so helpful when veterans are out of the service?
I think it's relevant throughout the year to do buddy checks, and you see it on social media a lot. But today in particular, for Veterans Day, it's just a great way to reach out to people who you served with, perhaps, or mentors, or people you haven't been in touch with for a while, just to see how they're doing, right? And you never know. There could be somebody struggling internally that you don't know about, and by you reaching out to them, that could actually have a positive impact. You have no idea what's actually going to do for them.
And we want to let folks know that hashtag #BuddyCheck is a good reminder for folks using social media to get the word out. And hey, you don't even have to be a veteran to check on a veteran.
Right.
Just be a good, decent American to check and be a buddy.
Be by their side, you know.
Yeah.
Don't be above them or below them. Be by their side. And you know what? Surround that weakest link and bring them up.
Such a good point. David, thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for just shedding a good light and supportive light on veterans. It really is great to have you join us with this day.
It's a pleasure to be here, and it's an honor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, you are watching New York City's Veterans Day Parade. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. To New York City Veterans Day Parade here on Channel 7, the nation's largest Veterans Day event. Again, I'm David Navarro with Lauren Glassberg.
Thank you all for
Mark
joining
Otto.
us. And Mark Otto, of course, from the United War Veterans Council, which puts on this very important parade. For the first time this week, veterans of different Asian backgrounds gathered to stand together to commemorate their shared legacy of service for this country and to take a stand against anti-Asian hate and prejudice. And I had the pleasure of speaking with some of these brave veterans. Take a look. Just before Veterans Day, these veterans presented a wreath and honored those who've gone before them.
And salute!
Most of these men served in Vietnam, but Asian Americans have long fought for the U.S. Evidence dates back to the War of 1812, and they may have served as far back as the Revolutionary War.
We're American, just like anybody else.
But recently, Asian Americans have been targeted, hate crimes ticking up since COVID.
There's a saying that America, good or bad, is America. Yeah, it's my America.
These men are loyal to their country and proud of their Asian heritage, which is why they're all wearing a gold ribbon, similar to what their counterparts in Canada are doing to signify Asian pride. And here, the ribbon includes the American flag.
And this is a solidarity between all the Asian American veterans who served this country with valor, and we did our best to make this country better.
The veterans chose this site, the 107th Infantry Memorial, in part because one of the soldiers who fought and died with the regiment was Alexander Kin, the son of a Chinese immigrant. Kin died while fighting in France. His mother was the first Chinese-born person to earn a medical degree in the U.S. and also introduced tofu to this country.
Accomplished woman in her own right, but her little boy went and served overseas and did not come home. He's buried in Arlington. And it's a reminder, I think, of how it's not just the soldiers who serve, but also the families, who hang the blue stars and then gold stars in the window when their sons and now daughters go overseas and serve our country and sometimes don't come home.
Lauren Glassberg, Channel 7 Eyewitness News. I was so deeply honored to meet with those veterans. They are kind, they are brave, they are loyal, and that is unfailing even in light of this uptick of hate crimes against Asian Americans.
Right now, we're looking at the Vietnam Veterans of America, Chapter 126 in Manhattan, I believe. Served New York City veterans community since 1983. Their mission? Ensure the appropriate recognition of military service, assist veterans in obtaining benefits, and provide service and leadership to our community.
Yeah, it's a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping veterans, and we've heard so many of these organizations providing similar sort of outreach. It's really so vital, so important for these veterans.
Their slogan is, never again will one generation of veterans abandon another. And now you can see the Korean Veterans Association here for the same reason, to honor and remember and to just participate in this important day for us.
Yeah, and these veterans, you know, these are among the older veterans of our of Americans, and their numbers will be fewer and far between. As we know, that's already happening with veterans of World War II. So it is an honor to have them marching here along Fifth Avenue.
You know, through a program, it's a FISERV, it's called FISERV Salutes U.S. Military and Veterans Engagement Program. Long title, important mission. FISERV provides the military community with career opportunities, education resources, business solutions for veteran-owned businesses, and they also serve veterans by being a proud sponsor of today's parade.
And here to tell us more is Navy veteran, military spouse, and Senior Vice President and Head of Global Corporate Citizenship at FISERV, Vivian Greentree. Vivian, you wear a lot of hats there.
You can call me anything, just not late for dinner.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about why FISERV is participating this year.
You know, we've participated for many years and have a long history of supporting our military community because I can't stop looking and smiling because this is really the best type of elevation of civic service and duty and families and volunteerism and caring about each other. And that corporations have a very large voice and role to play, and certainly our CEO, Frank Bisignano, says, you know, we're the largest fintech in the world and we want to be the best. And part of that is using our space and place to create opportunities and to be an inflection point, especially when we're talking about veteran business and what we do for businesses large and small. And in the military community, you know, we know that entrepreneurial spirit runs deep and it creates generational wealth, and we're right there with them.
Vivian, tell me a little bit, if you could tell us about this Back to Business program that FISERV launched in 2020.
Yeah, so we're investing over $50 million into small, diverse businesses. It was in the wake of COVID and in social injustice and injustice, and knowing that the military community is the most diverse community in the country. We all walks of life, Southerners, Northerners, all races, ethnicities, genders. And they're transitioning out. Some want to go to big businesses, small businesses. Some want to start a business, and we want to help them do that.
Is that similar to what the entrepreneur program is that you have, veteran entrepreneur program?
It is, and we know that they're more likely to be successful. It does, like I said, create generational wealth for them. It makes a difference in their transition home. They end up giving more back to the community because they're benefiting. And we're helping them through our products and services and technology. It's hard not to dance.
I know.
Of course not. You're listening to the Black Veterans for Social Justice as they work up their way up to right? Perfect.
It is perfect timing. We want to thank Vivian Greentree, who heads up Global Corporate Citizenship for FISERV, for coming on and telling us about what your organization is doing to help
Thank
veterans.
you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Supporting this parade. Thank you so much, Vivian.
And as we mentioned, the Black Veterans for Social Justice, this was a group established in 1979. It's a nonprofit, community-based organization. It serves veterans, their families, and members of the community. They provide program services to assist military personnel make a smooth transition from active duty to civilian life.
So important. They're also providing counseling, benefits, information, and, quote, tender, loving care and a listening ear.
This is just so great to see. You see they got the slicks on, they're not worried about the rain. It's all good.
They are cheering, they're spirited, and they're having a good time.
Oh, my goodness. This Sunday, ABC 7 presents 2 Our America specials on veterans. At 3, cheer on wounded veterans competing in the Department of Defense Warrior Games in Veterans Go for Gold. That's the name of it. Then at 3:30, Mission Montfort Point chronicles the history of the first black men to serve in the U.S. Marine Corps.
Those are going to be terrific shows. I encourage you all to watch. And of course, we hope you continue to watch us here live on 5th Avenue. We will be right back. It is the 103rd New York City Veterans Day Parade. Welcome back. We are thrilled to be bringing you the 103rd Annual New York City's Veterans Day Parade live on Channel 7. And we also want to welcome veterans, service members, and military families around the world who have come to the red carpet, who have come along the parade route, who have decided to join the parade or watch from
looking
home.
at the Wounded Warrior Project right now, nonprofit working to support veterans and service members who were injured, physical or mental injury, illness or wound, whatever it was, anything that happened on or after 9/11. And since 2003, the Wounded Warrior Project has been meeting growing needs of warriors, families, and caregivers. The organization's multiple programs assist them with physical and mental health, financial wellness, and connecting them with supportive communities.
And take a look at this massive flag that they've got coming in, part of the Wounded Warrior Project. It's the #1 nonprofit serving military and veterans as of 2021. 200,000 warriors, family members, and caregivers registered with and have been directly served by the Wounded Warrior Project.
It's just so awesome. Let's take it in for a moment. It's just great to see, and what a great camera angle for us.
You want to stand under there with a little rain.
Right. Once again, the flag covering all of us. That's such an important thing. Let's bring you back down to the parade route with our Elisa Wick, who's got a guest. Elisa.
That's right, David. I'm here with Major General Frank Donovan of the United States Marine Corps. First of all, sir, happy belated Marine Corps birthday.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for your service. What does it mean to the Marines to be here along 5th Avenue honoring service today?
Well, I'll tell you, it's been a great week. We've had a number of activities. We have a U.S. Navy ship up here with us, and Marines and sailors together make up the Navy Marine Corps team. And to come up to here in New York and really enjoy the hospitality and the wonderful things about New York City, but also see these incredible veterans, some right here today, that have served before us, and we get to recognize them. And really, what I've learned this week is these veterans that have made the transition back to American society and are just doing amazing things. So it gives us hope that there's something after the Marine Corps or the military for us. But for me as a Marine, it really brings back the purpose of service. Service to our nation, and come back to a city that thanks us for that service is fantastic. But then we also can think about really what is coming in front of us right now as we look at the future of the Marine Corps, the future of the Navy. So it's a great week to reflect and enjoy the hospitality in New York City.
And what do you want to say today on Veterans Day?
I want to thank all the veterans, right? And, it's in my family. My wife's a veteran. I have children that are serving right now. But just to thank them, because what they do for our nation, and we sometimes skip over it, okay? But few have actually served. Less than 1% serve actively right now. But the veterans before us from World War II and Korea, and those numbers are dwindling a little bit, but really up to Vietnam, the generation we probably didn't thank properly. So seeing them here today is great. But all the way to our veterans that are coming out of Iraq and Afghanistan, places like Beirut, have done so much to set our nation up success for all the things we enjoy today. So you just got to say thank you for what they did for us.
Absolutely, and thank you for your service and for being here. Thank you. Back to you guys in the booth.
Elise, thank you so much. We are going to take a quick break, but we hope you will come right back with us as we continue to bring the 103rd New York City Veterans Day Parade to you live from New York.
name is Senior Master Sergeant Kevin Carrick with the 106 Rescue Wing, New York Air National Guard, where I was a pararescueman for 25 years, now retired. I was chosen as last year's Grand Marshal for the New York City Veterans Day Parade with great honor. And I would like to congratulate Master Chief Petty Officer Vince Patton on being chosen as this year's Grand Marshal representing the U.S. Coast Guard. My hat's off to you and our brothers and sisters in the Coast Guard.
And with that, what a perfect time to introduce our 2022 Parade Grand Marshal. He had a distinguished 30-year career in the U.S. Coast Guard, serving as its 8th Master Petty Officer. You're looking right there at the West Point Band about to perform. But before we go to them, we want to introduce you to he's the first Black American to hold the prestigious role. Truly an honor to welcome Dr. Vince Patton. Good to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
What does it mean to you to be the Grand Marshal of this parade, Dr. Patton?
Oh, you know, I've been asked that question a few times, and I think the best true answer I can give is that, and what it means, I think about everybody else, and I sincerely mean that. This, I call the New York City Veterans Day Parade the granddaddy of them all, which means this parade actually is for America completely. So therefore, how I feel is that I'm honoring as well as representing 17.4 million veterans of our country. So what I feel and is all about, I am a representative. So for every thank you for your service that I receive, I'm receiving it for everybody else. So that's what I feel.
Master Chief, we want you to stay here because we have a performance for you and for all the veterans that are here right now. And then we're going to come back and we want to talk some more to you. Because as the United States Army's oldest band, the West Point Band consists entirely of active duty soldier musicians whose mission is to educate, train, inspire the Corps of Cadets at the United States Military Academy through world-class music. The band joins us now on the red carpet under the director of Commander Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Tovin, Command Sergeant Major Scott Drews, and Drum Major Sergeant First Class Nicole Caroy to perform God Bless America featuring vocalist Sergeant Major Marquet Messenger.
Please join along in singing. While the storm clouds gather far across the sea, let us swear allegiance to a land that's free. Let us all be grateful for our land's affair as we raise our voices in a solemn prayer. Please join in. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the oceans, wide we fall. God bless America, my home, sweet home. From the mountains to the prairies to the ocean, wide we fall. God bless America, my home, sweet
Outstanding! Ladies and gentlemen,
United States
Military Academy at West Point Band.
Yeah, that was Sergeant Major Mary Kay Messenger hitting those high notes. And if you just joined us a moment or two before the band started playing, we were talking to our Grand Marshal. He was the 8th Master Petty Officer of the Coast Guard. And 8th person to hold that rank, Dr. Vince Hunt, and he is with us. Still, thank you for sitting through that wonderful performance.
Well, it was really kind of for you.
Yes, that's true.
It really was.
A dedication to you. I was curious. Tell me a little bit about what Master Chief Petty Officer, what that role is. I know you're only the 8th person to have that title.
Well, the position was created actually for all the military services in 1967. So each military service has a senior ranking enlisted. Only one person gets that. And the Coast Guard didn't get its first till 1969. So that number, I'm number 8. So since the position started, I became the 8th. We're up to number 14 now. So what is that position? Well, it started as a result of Congress was concerned about the health and well-being of enlisted personnel, and they were not getting satisfactory answers from the service chiefs. And that was really a true story. So they created like an enlisted person general or admiral, as the case may be. And it's a very prestigious and a very demanding role. Like I said, only one person gets selected, and there's a process that you go through, pretty much the same process that the person that's selected as the service chief, the chief of staff, or like the commandant of the Coast Guard. Same process you go through. You got to get White House clearance, the whole thing, to get picked. And and it's something that I really wanted to do that. When I came in the Coast Guard, I saw the picture of the Master Chief of the Coast Guard, and this was 1972. The position was still fairly new, and so our books didn't have it, and so I had to ask my drill instructor, my company commander, who is that? Because this picture, I mean, it was a big picture, and it looked like this guy was God or something, And when he told me it was the Master Chief Petty Officer of the Coast Guard, that's when I said, that's what I want to be.
Wow. And then you went on and did it.
Right. Not only that, you got all of your education, right? All of your education. You received a doctorate in education degree in 1984. You have a master's degree in counseling and psychology from Loyola, a bachelor's science degree in social work. This man is very intelligent, and I mean, just very accomplished. I'm a little, you forget anything else, I'm really in awe. But what's your advice to someone joining the military now?
Well, my daughter said about all that education that I'm a slow learner.
No, not at all. You just don't get enough learning. That's it. You just consume it.
I have to credit a lot of people. I mean, I didn't have the honest drive about getting all that education. There were a lot of people, my mentors, that kind of pushed me into it, and the doctorate was kind of an icing on the cake because I got selected to a program that the Coast Guard was having to look to change its evaluation system, and then I was sent to graduate school, and that's how I got my doctorate.
You're a role model.
What a legacy, what a career. Thank you so much for your service, and we're glad to honor you today as the Grand Marshal. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we will be right back. Mark, we thank you for
Mark,
your
you got to get into the parade, right?
Today.
Right.
I guess you have some other work to do today.
Thanks for the help.
Of course, we're live on Fifth Avenue for the annual Veterans Day Parade here in New York, and we are coming right back. So much more to show you.
Back to the Veterans Day Parade live from New York City's Fifth Avenue. I am David Farr, joined by Lauren Glassberg.
And right now you are looking at the United States Marine Corps silent drill platoon that just was
not
on
so silent.
They're not. Maybe that wasn't the silent drill platoon, but it is the Marine Corps band. I can tell you that. Maybe it's the Quantico.
It is the Quantico, which is where my niece is currently serving.
Your niece is getting a lot of airtime.
I'm going to give her a lot of props today.
You have every right to be proud of her. The Marine Corps band, by the way, established in 1918, and it's one of the oldest professional musical ensembles in the Marine Corps. It includes a ceremonial band and concert band equipped to provide musical support as directed by the Commandant of the Marine Corps and the Commanding Officer of the Marine Corps Installations National Capital Region, MCV Quantico.
let's take you down to the parade route with Stefan Kim. Stefan.
Well, David and Lauren, you know you're at a parade when you have a hard time hearing each other and yourself. So joining us now is a very special guest. I have U.S. Navy Captain Eric Kellum with us. Happy Veterans Day. Thank you for being here. First question is easy. What is it like being out here on Fifth Avenue on this day celebrating Veterans Day?
Right. It's surreal. So my first time really to New York City, and I was able to bring my ship up. USS Arlington. We brought up all 400 plus sailors, about 200 Marines, and we've just been greeted with open arms in the city. As a veteran to represent, both the Navy and Marine Corps team, it's been phenomenal. The guys have been able to go out, participate in different events throughout the city. In fact, the Marines that just went by were on board our ship right now, so it's very special.
Your first time in the city, it's for Veterans Day parade. That's not bad. What's been the favorite part so far being here?
Honestly, it's the firehouse. A lot of the firehouses have invited us to have dinner, and then we did the 9/11 memorial where we did a re-enlistment of the Secretary of the Navy. It's my first time at 9/11, and USS Arlington is one of the three namesakes after the 9/11 crisis, along with USS New York, of course, USS Somerset. So that piece was very humbling. It was awesome to see. They've done an amazing job with that memorial. So.
Very special experience. Thank you so much for being here again, and happy Veterans Day. Thank you. Back to you guys.
All right, awesome. You're looking at the PricewaterhouseCoopers quote right now. This is, of course, the international professional service company, and they offer business advisory service such as auditing, accounting, taxation. You've heard about them, I'm sure. They offer, in terms of this parade, the Veteran Internship Program that introduces participants to the professional service industry and provides just wonderful training, coaching, flexibility, opportunities for growth and mobility. You see this again and again in a parade like this, how the corporate sector has reached out to lend a hampering
And by the way, their
veterans.
charitable foundation has committed $10 million for a series of grants to support a target of 200,000 U.S. veterans. So they are really committed to helping veterans and doing really good work by them.
Just so great. You can see a light rain falling down, not really hampering anybody. We're just having a wonderful time celebrating and honoring
Look at those
the men and
smiles
women
along the route.
who serve our country. Just fabulous.
We have seen, yet again, bagpipes.
Because it's a parade.
I love it. You give it about 5 minutes and you know you have another group coming through with bagpipes, trying to establish exactly who that is. Is it the Navy Band Northeast? Hard to tell.
It's too far away to tell. It looks almost
But
like
the
it's
weather is
an
perfect
NYPD
for that,
group.
right?
Yeah. Again, rain? What rain? We live for
It
this
is
kind of...
coming in a little sideways here.
That's
You're
all
sort
right.
of blocking me
well,
for that.
that's what I'm here for. They said, Dave, block the rain on Lauren.
It is the
That's
Navy.
what I
Yeah,
do.
I was right. It is the Navy Ceremonial Guard, established in 1931.
But you can see some of the NYPD tags there.
Good point. Well, let me tell you a little bit more about what I know. Members of the Navy Ceremonial Guard participate in some of our nation's most prestigious ceremonies, including presidential inaugurations and the arrival ceremonies for foreign officials. And located Joint Base Anacostia Balling, Washington, D.C. The Navy's Ceremonial Guard primary mission is to represent the service in presidential, joint armed forces, Navy, and public ceremonies in and around the nation's capital.
I know that in addition, they serve as the funeral escort and conduct all services for Navy personnel buried at Arlington National Cemetery. You know, joining us now on the set here, we're excited to welcome our second special co-host for the day. He spent 7 years in the U.S. Army as an active duty infantry officer and deployed in Iraq and Afghanistan during the global war on terror, and he remains a U.S. Army reservist.
Yeah, he's not very busy or anything. He is the current commissioner of the New York City Department of Veteran Services. Welcome to James Hendon. And Mr. Hendon, I know that you sort of opened off the parade today. You had an adorable child sitting on your
Was that a hat?
shoulders
What
for
was
the
that?
opening remarks. Tell me a little bit about who that was.
So that was my 5-year-old son, David. I have a 7-year-old daughter, Grace, and 5-year-old David. And, we were great to say this wasn't just about the resilience of the soldiers, sailors, Marines, airmen, Coast Guardsmen, and Guardians, but also about the families and how nothing can stop the spirit of our veteran community. So we're so happy to be out here celebrating this 103rd parade.
That's going to be a wonderful family memory years to come. I hope that you get the video of it to share as it goes.
His scarf was sort of blocking your eyes.
It was
a lot going on.
But it was very sweet.
It was as sweet as it gets. On a serious note, many veterans face many challenges, and a lot of what you do and what your department does is to help in that cause. Talk a little bit about the problems and what you guys are doing to help out.
So a lot of our work is to focus on issues that surround housing, healthcare, benefits, culture, education, employment, and to almost act as water as far as just filling any gaps where a veteran may have a need. It could be either us connecting them to another entity that could be able to put them on the right track. It could be creating synergies with different stakeholders to realize a 1 + 1 = 3 dynamic, or just rolling our sleeves up and doing the work ourselves. Anything we can do to make sure that our service members and their families wind up in a good place.
James, we're going to be talking to you further. We're going to take a quick break. I want to ask you a little bit about entrepreneurs like yourself and those who were in the military and what they can bring and how they can help the city and how the city can help them. So we'll talk a little bit about that when we come right back. But right now, you are watching the 103rd Annual Veterans Day Parade live from New York City's 5th Avenue.
And welcome back to the Veterans Day Parade live from New York City's 5th Avenue. You're watching the Naval Weapons Station Earl Harbor Security Unit making its way up 5th Avenue. They used to patrol Sandy Hook Bay and surrounding bays, so they're local and they maintain security. It's a top priority for the Navy personnel to perform these patrols in order to protect the weapons and ammunition that travel to and from their pier.
Someone else who is local, who is hosting with us now, is James Hendon. He is the current commissioner of the New York City Department of Veterans Services. Oh, James, look at that. Doesn't that look cool?
Oh, yeah, that's amazing.
That's a harbor security boat for Naval Weapons Station Earl. I know you served, James, and now you're running the city's Department of Veterans Services. And we were talking right before the break. You're an entrepreneur as well. Veterans are entrepreneurial. What do they bring to the city, and what is the city doing to help them?
I think veterans just bring that sense of determination, that sense of grit, that sense of, just doggedness to any task they put in front of them. And so it's this idea of I am the general of my life or the admiral of my situation and the CEO of things. It permeates in our veteran community, and just that outright hustle and ability to get knocked down and get back up. And so here in New York City, we try to be as fertile an environment as possible for those service members and family members who seek to start their own businesses. One thing we do for them is we have a Veteran Business Leadership Association where we provide technical assistance to our veterans who are looking to set up businesses. A lot of this, when you come from one ecosystem to another, it is just not knowing where to press play and where to move forward and what the right azimuth and compass is for this thing. And so it's nycvbla.org where we ask our veterans to go to get technical support as they attempt to work on whatever the venture is, whatever the stage is of it. Another thing we do is try to make sure that the rest of the community knows where to find our veteran business owners. We estimate that there are just under 1,000 veteran-owned businesses in this city. We've identified well over 350 of them, and we post them on a website. It's on a map where it's nyc.gov/vetbizmap. It's nyc.gov/vetbizmap.
And that's so that a New Yorker who wants to support a business that's owned by a veteran, and if they had to choose between two businesses, maybe they can show a little love and support.
Absolutely, Lauren. We always say, hire a veteran, contract with a veteran, help a veteran. And so a piece of that, as far as doing business with our people, is going to that map to see where these businesses are. And as soon as we identify them, we place them there so that no one can ever say, I did not know where to find a veteran-owned business to work with.
Right. There's a number of safety nets for veterans that are out there. I want to get to another one right now. Since 2003, the Wounded Warrior Project has been meeting the growing needs of wounded warriors, their families, and caregivers, helping them achieve their highest ambition.
Yeah, and we actually saw some of their floats participants coming through a short time ago. The organization serves warriors through programs that assist them with physical and mental health, as well as financial wellness and independence. Warriors never pay a penny for any of these programs because they paid their dues already on the battlefield.
And with us now is Wounded Warrior Project CEO Michael Lennington. Michael, thanks for joining us. And
David, Lauren, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Tell me what this parade means to you.
It means everything. I mean, Veterans Day is one day a year where the nation celebrates the exceptionalism of our nation's veterans. For us at Wounded Warrior Project, we say every day is Veterans Day, but this is one of our 8,000 events we do all over the country every year where we bring veterans together in groups to help them share that sense of camaraderie and cohesion they had when they were in the military and start the healing process for many of them. And you just mentioned all the programs and services we provide here and everywhere. If you're a veteran, post 9/11, want to get involved, go to our website, woundedwarriorproject.org, and get involved. Lots of events you can tap into.
Michael, is there a difference in what you're seeing in today's generation of wounded veterans compared to decades ago?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, today's younger veterans in particular, they want purpose. They want a hand up, not a handout. They want to be something bigger than themselves. And I think young people in general are that way as well. So we've adapted our programs and services that don't just serve those with the greatest injuries, but those that maybe want to, get some help, get started, as James talked about, help find employment, meaningful employment, and they want to give back. They really want to give back, and they want to serve their brothers and sisters in arms.
It really is the concept of no one's left behind. Tell me what does it mean to you personally?
Well, for me, 35 years in the Army, I mean, the Army is all I've ever known, and leaving the military, for me, I kind of lost my sense of tribe. And being part of Wounded Warrior Project for the last 6 years has really helped connect me with my brothers and sisters in arms, and then just help those that have given so much for our country, as you've talked about all morning and afternoon today. Help them achieve their highest ambition. That's what we do at Wounded Warrior Project.
Michael Lennington, thank you so much for you and for the work that all your people that are working on that project do.
Yes, thank you for your service, 35 years.
Thank you.
Well, the Medal of Honor is the United States' highest award for military valor in action, and there are currently 3,515 recipients of the Medal of Honor, with 65 living Medal of Honor recipients.
Yeah, and our Elise Rick took a visit to the National Medal of Honor Heritage Center at Chattanooga, Tennessee to learn more.
Well, that's right, David. I've had the honor of meeting some very incredible Medal of Honor recipients right here along Fifth Avenue over the last 13 years. But here's what I found out about the history of some of the very first medals and a very special, unique trait to New York.
It's an inverted 5-point star. It's a pentagram held together by a ribbon of the American flag in the image of the American flag. Then it has a clasp at the top with an eagle. Now, that was the medal up until about 1895.
The first medal ever received was in 1863 to Jacob Parrott for his action during the Civil War. The design changed shortly after to distinguish prestigious acts of valor from other medals.
So in 1895, they changed the ribbon. Hopefully that would create enough of a distinction that no one would be confused on who's a Medal of Honor recipient or not.
The medal would take on another look in 1904. This was the Army's redesign called the Gillespie Medal, named after General George Gillespie.
George Gillespie, who was a Tennessee Medal of Honor recipient, he was actually helping form a committee and contracted with a jeweler in Paris to create what is known as the Gillespie Medal, and that's the medal that we recognize today as the Medal of Honor with that beautiful blue.
It's a 5-point star encompassed by a green laurel wreath. This is what you see hanging from the ribbon with 13 stars. But there was a special design in the Department of the Navy in 1919, the Navy Cross.
This was a Medal of Honor that was created and designed by Tiffany Company, and it was in existence from 1919 and it was deactivated in 1942. No one really knows the reason why it was deactivated other than it may have just taken a little more money to make.
This Navy Cross is rarely seen and was on loan from an art gallery here on display during the opening of the Heritage Center. But the Gillespie Medal is still worn proudly by the 65 living Medal of Honor recipients.
You know, it's interesting because sometimes when people see that medal, they immediately put that individual on a pedestal. And unfortunately, most recipients don't want to be put on that pedestal. In fact, I know of many Medal of Honor recipients that have spoken that said, for every one of these medals, there is another 25 to 50 guys that went unrecognized.
We thank those who earned and display the medal proudly, and for all of those who were alongside the recipients during their acts of valor.
Love learning about that history. Hey, recognize those years?
I do. You're looking at the Walt Disney Company's Veteran Employees Float.
And this float, well, our company, because that is our parent company, Walt Disney Company, they have participated in the New York City's Veteran Parade since 2017. This year it's special as it's a return to an in-person presence since 2019. First time that they're doing that.
Yeah, new this year they've added the Heroes Work Here float. You can see it by the words behind the people there. It reflects the long history of respect and appreciation our parent company Disney has for the U.S. Armed Forces.
Since then, this initiative that they started in 2012, 11,000 veterans, even more than that, have joined Disney as valued employees. Thousands more have embarked upon rewarding careers elsewhere thanks to Disney's free Veterans Institute workshops.
Now, Disney Veterans United mission is to show appreciation for, we like to call ourselves cast members.
We are in the cast.
We're cast members, basically employees, family members, friends, those who volunteer to serve in the military. Let's say a big hello. Hello, hey.
Hello. They've got their ponchos and their ears on, and ABC 7, along with our parent company, Disney, proud to be part of this ongoing commitment to veterans and their families, including by serving as the host of today's Veterans Day Parade. You know, David, I feel like we need a set of beers just for the weather. We're going to be coming right back with more of the 133rd New York City's Veterans Day Parade. And welcome back to the 103rd Annual New York City Veterans Day Parade, broadcast live on Channel 7. You are looking at 5th Avenue on a little bit of a damp day, but the spirit is strong.
And you see that hashtag NYC Vets Day. Anyone can participate in this wonderful thing. Words of encouragement by just hashtagging there. Also going to their org.
And right now you're looking at the U.S. Customs and Border Protection making their way on 5th Avenue.
You know, corporate sponsorship is such an important part of this parade. This is the 6th year that T-Mobile has been a valued sponsor of the Veterans Day Parade, with over 100 T-Mobile veteran employees and allies marching today, including several members of their senior leadership. And we're excited to have the co-chair of T-Mobile's Veteran and Allies Network, Tana Avalar, with us. Welcome, Tana. Good to have you here. How important is this parade to you and the company?
This parade is extremely important. We show up to not only thank our veterans and in gratitude, but also their family members and everyone else that supports them, their friends. In addition to that, we really invest in our employees during this time here. We bring them in, we bring senior leadership, we bring learning and development opportunities, and really invest in them and know that it's not just a job at T-Mobile, it's a career, and that we really honor and support their service.
So tell us a little bit about T-Mobile's military hiring commitment.
Yes, so T-Mobile has committed to hire 10,000 military veterans and their spouses in 2023. At this point, we are 84% to our goal and on target to meet that. And we recognize the value of the veteran and that military community, what they can bring to the corporate world.
Yeah, talk a little bit about that value. What is it that sets a veteran apart?
There are so many things, but some of the key things that I have seen is leadership, the ability to be flexible, think on your feet, and really be able to bring that diverse perspective and bring that into companies who really need to react and move fast in this fast-paced world, and they bring some of that experience that you cannot buy anywhere else, and it's an amazing part of our military culture that we can bring forward into the workforce.
Tana, thank you so much for what you're doing, for what the company is doing, and joining us on this wonderful day. Really appreciate
Thank you so
being
much.
with us.
10,000
Well, we continue
employees.
to
That's
bring
great.
you the very live from the welcome to the 2022 New York City Veterans Day Parade. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back.
Flights, colorless flights, body bearers flights, firing party, training flight, drill team. Join base McGuire, Dix, Lakehurst.
We are thrilled to be bringing you the 103rd annual New York City's Veteran Day Parade live on Channel 7. You're looking right now at Joint Base McGuire Dix Lakehurst, located in New Jersey. It's the only tri-service base in the Department of Defense.
It's so awesome. And what a great day that we're here right now. It's a light rain, but there's so much pride and so much gratefulness of service that we're seeing just demonstrated up Fifth Avenue right now.
By the way, this group consists of units from all 6 branches of the armed forces.
Speaking of service branches, you've got one on the Coast Guard, right?
Like all service branches, the Coast Guard has evolved greatly over the years. Although it has been a challenging road for women trying to make their mark, their efforts are paying off, and women increasingly are assuming leadership positions, and we're going to meet a couple of them now.
The Coast Guard on patrol in New York Harbor, one of the busiest and economically important in the country. Making sure things run smoothly, 2 of the agency's trailblazing officers, Lieutenant Brianna Townsend, who served overseas, and Captain Zeta Merchant, commanding officer of Sector New York.
The obligation was 3 years, and that 3 years have now turned into almost 26 years.
But Merchant confesses she had no desire to join until, in her junior year of college, a recruiter explained how she could make a career out of it.
When I decided to take that path to join the Coast Guard, it totally changed my trajectory. I was able to finish my education in every way I thought I wanted to, 2 masters, a doctorate, fellowships at Harvard and MIT.
We leave base here on Staten Island to link up with the 175-foot Coast Guard cutter, Catherine Walker. Once on board, Townsend shows us around. The crew of 22 includes 4 women.
So I think, myself coming in with confidence, it sort of sets the tone that even though I'm a woman, I'm here to do my job just like you are, and I'm going to do it just as better, maybe sometimes even a little bit better.
In 1918, a seismic shift. The first women, twins from Brooklyn, joined the Coast Guard. Still, it took 55 years for females to receive active duty status. Even in 1997, when Merchant joined, there were systemic problems.
Everywhere I served, I saw other women, but they were junior. There were no senior African American women in the Coast Guard at that point in time, so I really couldn't see what I wanted to be.
Both believing seeing leads to becoming. They acknowledge progress is being made through recruitment and initiatives. Right now, the Coast Guard Academy is 40% women, a record number, a push that continues.
Our current commandant is specifically focused on that. She understands that tomorrow looks different, and so will we.
Leaving this assignment with these pearls of wisdom.
If it seems impossible at the time, just continue to go for it. Continue to strive for excellence.
Kimberly Richardson, Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
Now, as you saw from that piece, it is so clear that women are shaping the future of the Coast Guard, and that would not be possible with our next guest joining us now. She is someone who is at the forefront of breaking boundaries in that respect. Joining us now is Colonel Mary Westmoreland of the U.S. Coast Guard and U.S. Army United UWVC board member. Thank you for joining us. What's it been like so far for you today at this Veterans Day parade?
Very fulfilling. Very fulfilling.
So the first question to you is, what was your impetus for joining the Coast Guard?
Well, it's part of today's event. The fact that when the Vietnam War had just come down and we were now moving to a full volunteer military, and I had graduated from college and had a career in college admissions counselor. But what I wanted was the service. I had lost my friends in Vietnam.
And as an Army veteran, I have to ask you this. What was the reason for your transition into the Army? Why did you decide to move into the Army?
Well, but the fact is that after the war, they were dismantling some of their missions and transferring them to other, and I was excess. And they were getting many, many more experienced people off the battlefield into the Coast Guard from the Navy. So Army was waiting, and the opportunity came. But the Coast Guard facilitated that because they recognized and said that I had talents that needed to be shared. So I moved to the Coast Guard. But that was my first service. I chose it. It was a volunteer. I gave a great deal of thought about the different missions and the commitment. And then I got to witness it for 3 years before I left. That left in my heart a commitment to the Coast Guard because they were under-resourced. When I was in the Army, my goal was to do something for the Coast Guard.
Colonel, thanks so much for joining us. Happy Veterans Day. We have to go to a break, but we'll be right back. Thank you.
Welcome back to the 103rd Annual Veterans Day Parade here on 5th Avenue, and it is just a wonderful experience to be here honoring the veterans of our country right now.
And right now you're looking at the Federation of French War Veterans with Cadets Lafayette and French community groups. When in 1919, a few French veterans established a Federation of French War Veterans. They defined its purposes and principles as social, literary, patriotic, and historical, aiming to cultivate comradeship and solidarity among surviving veterans of the First World War.
Yeah, they're joining some 200,000 participants going up 5th Avenue today in the nation's largest Veterans Day event.
And it is our honor to have with us Major General John M. Klein. He's the commander of the U.S. Air Force Expeditionary Center, Joint Base McGuire-Dix Lakehurst in New Jersey, with units that span the globe and operate 24/7 to provide global air support. We are really glad that he's able to take a little time with us here today. Thank you.
Thank you very
so much.
What does it mean to be here today, Major General?
So it's an opportunity to recognize the service of American veterans. You know, we have, about 19.1 million veterans in America today. and only about 0.7%, so less than a percentage point of Americans actually actively serving. So, I think that's a pretty good insurance policy for America.
Incredible. And so we know you've had a storied career. You've seen time in Iraq, Afghanistan, deployed to other operations. On this day, what does Veterans Day hold as far as a place in your heart?
Well, it's a time to reflect upon, not just all the veterans and folks that I've served with and continue to serve with, but those that have served before. And so we truly stand on their shoulders. But it's, you reflect back, I've got about 28 and a half years of active duty service now. And I tell you, each year that goes by, it's more and more about, serving our nation. And so, it's just an honor and a privilege to do that. I never have to wake up in the morning and wonder, is today going to be a purposeful day or not? Because it always is.
You've actually been serving with the Air Force about 1/3 of the time that it's been around. Because it's 75 years in the Air Force.
That is
not to make you feel old, but that's got to be a meaningful milestone as well, 75 years for the Air Force.
It is. So, our Chief of Staff, General Sir Q. Brown, has charged us to accelerate change or lose. So, as you know, that our nation, the world, has some formidable foes out there, some growing threats, and it's time, after having spent the majority of my career in the last 20, 30 years or so oriented upon a counterinsurgency threat for our nation, now to reorient ourselves to more strategic competition and strategic threats in the world.
Before we let you go, what message do you have to New Yorkers today?
The message I would have would be, as you thank veterans for their service, take the next step and ask them what they did. Veterans are extremely proud of what they did. We see that by what we see here today. We see them, retirees and veterans always wearing their hats, and we see them wearing their pins because they're so proud of their service. But ask them what they did; they'll be happy to share.
And I'm sure they have some incredible stories to tell.
Major General John Klein, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for your service.
It's an honor to serve. Thank you very much.
And let's take you back out live now to Fifth Avenue. We just had the Corporación de Veteranos. Oh gosh, I should have had you do this one.
That was good.
Guerra del Ecuador, Quito Luz de America.
You see,
Am
the
I
Spanish
close?
classes really helped you out.
Yeah, I don't know about that. But they just passed through. That was a group of professional Ecuadorian soldiers who were part of the war of 1981 and 1985 with neighboring country Peru.
This American Legion Department in New York, James, what are your thoughts?
I think the Legion has always been in the foxhole with us as far as the other members of the veteran community, especially on the government side, in helping our veterans obtain benefits that are owed and deserving to them. There's a great partnership we have with them, just helping those veterans for whom the veteran passes away and the family doesn't have the appropriate means or know the right steps to take for that veteran to have a burial with the right honors. And that's a place where we work with them day in and day out directly to add service, and that's one of many other efforts.
Sadly, COVID really hit on a lot of the American Legion halls. They lost a lot of funding because they were closed down, and any extra money they could have to fund projects and programs that really are important to veterans. Can you put it in perspective just what COVID did to veterans in the New York City area alone?
Well, we know that, just speaking more broadly, there was data that was just released that showed that this is a national number, greater than 50,000 or so veterans passed away during that COVID era whom we believe otherwise would not have passed away, but that is a national number. We have to assume that also impacted New York City. We also know that we have roughly just under 60 physical sites in New York City of veteran organizations like the Veterans of Foreign Wars, like the American Legions that you mentioned, and they also got hit by that financial impact as well.
Right.
And so, through these times, we as an agency sent, a financial relief to our veteran service organizations that had physical plants. We sent approximately $1,136 apiece to each of these agencies that was donated from the community to try to help them get through these tough times.
Yeah, what a difference. And it's such a helping hand. It makes it's so important to see.
We were talking earlier with T-Mobile. We see Estee Lauder coming through right now. We know that so many of these corporations are taking the initiative to hire veterans. That's been a lag. It's taken a while for companies to start doing that. And now, I'm not saying that it's de rigueur, but more and more companies are realizing the value in doing so.
Absolutely, and I have to add to that, it's not just the value of the service members, but also the spouses. We appreciate these corporate entities for going that next step and saying, hey, I want to hire that husband, that wife of the veteran also, because it's about the families as well, who are all a part of this community.
Well, you're watching the 103rd Annual Veterans Day Parade on ABC 7. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the 2022 New York City Veterans Day Parade on Channel 7. You're looking live on Fifth Avenue. This is the KPMG Veterans Network float. KPMG Veterans Network is a group of veterans and allies whose mission is to support various grassroots initiatives such as veteran hiring, coaching, mentoring, and other community veteran activities.
I love their spirit.
Yeah.
Great spirit. You know, another proud sponsor of the parade is Salesforce, a technology company committed to supporting the success of veterans and their families. Their dedication to veterans hit close to home for our next guest, who is with Elise. Elise, tell us more.
Well, David, I'm here with Christina Nason, and she is the Senior Vice President of Sales for Salesforce. And Christina, can you tell us your story and how it all ties into the veterans initiatives through Salesforce?
Yeah. Well, number one, I'm so grateful to be here. So thankful to represent Salesforce. We are thankful to our veterans. I'm a veteran. My dad was a Vietnam veteran. And Salesforce, we live very much through our values and our culture, which is all about business being the greatest platform for change. And for us, that's about enabling veterans to come back into the workforce, as well as their families, in particular their spouses. So as a daughter of a veteran, my mom raised us girls, mostly as a single parent, and the kind of programs that we offer at Salesforce to enable people to come back into the workforce would have helped my family a great deal, especially as a first-generation college student. The GI Bill helped put me through college, and so super grateful to have served in the military and the leadership lessons I learned there, and how I get to represent that at the company I work for. So proud.
And what do you want to say to people that are transitioning out of their service into the workforce and maybe joining Salesforce?
Yeah, I would tell you, number one, you are so welcome here. There is a great place for you to serve. Leadership is about service, and at our company, every individual has an opportunity to serve. We want you to live your best life, take the best of who you are, and put it to work to change the world in a really, really meaningful way. And so we hope that many of you will go to veterans.force.com, learn more about our programs, and how we can help you take your next step into the corporate world. We would love to help people do that.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your service and for being here today.
It's a pleasure, yes.
Back to you, Lauren and David in the booth.
All right, Elise, thank you, and thanks. Great hearing about those opportunities at Salesforce. We want to take a moment now to recognize the junior ROTC groups from across the tri-state area and from as far away as Virginia, who marched up Fifth Avenue prior to our coming on the air
Yes,
today.
serving as parade escort units. They were joined by motorcycle escorts led by the NAM Knights of America Motorcycle Club. This law enforcement and military club includes veterans of all eras, and their roaring engines demonstrated their solidarity with the veteran community.
Oh yeah, that roar of the motorcycles, I heard that a block away.
Uh-huh.
Sweet.
And back, just a precious shot, waving the flag, and a little supporter of the Veterans Day Parade.
We've got 300 groups coming up Fifth Avenue today, and some of them are rather young, but they've got their strong patriotism, waving it proudly.
Absolutely. This is the nation's largest Veterans Day event, and you can see rain not a problem when we come down to support and honor the men and women who have served proudly in our country.
We're looking at the New York City Vietnam Vets PTSD group. We've been talking all morning about veterans returning to the workforce after they've left the military, bringing in James Hendon, who is heading up the city's Department of Veterans Affairs. I mean, you are seeing these veterans who want to work. They want to find a path forward. PTSD is often a problem. How is the city helping?
Well, first, I just want to say for any veteran who is experiencing any issues where they do need to talk to someone, that the Veteran Crisis Line can be reached by dialing 988 and then pressing 1. Just to say that, just a public service announcement. 988 and then press 1. It takes you directly to the Veterans Crisis Line, just for anyone who's listening who may be in need. For us, we've been developing communities of practice throughout the boroughs of different folks who provide counsel and support to these veterans who have mental health first aid issues. It's called the Crisis Intercept Mapping Program. And so it started a few years ago in 2020 in Staten Island. It's moved on to Brooklyn, to Queens, to the Bronx, getting ready to come to Manhattan, just to set up a network where if a veteran or veteran family member does have needs, that they can tie in with a practitioner who knows how to best deal with that situation. Also, we're so proud to work side by side with different partners, as far as our partners at the VA with their Vet Center Network, and our partners with I see NYU is here, the NYU Langone Military Family Clinic, the Cohen Military Family Clinic, and working with Headstrong, which is also providing clinical support to veterans and families who have certain needs.
Right now, we're looking at Kappa Epsilon, Psi Military Sorority. This is from Hampton Roads Peninsula Zeta Chapter, a military sorority. They tell us they cater exclusively to military women who are active duty, veterans, retirees, reservists, and of course members of ROTC.
You know, it's remarkable who is coming, who is participating in this parade. We have seen medical facilities, we have seen educational organizations, we have seen nonprofits, outreach groups, we have seen the private sector, publicly traded companies, financial institutions, marching bands, and every division of the armed service is represented here today. We have seen it all. Patriotism and pride in veterans is strong in New York right now.
I love the parade because it's a time to just highlight all who are within the tribe of our veteran community. It's not just service members, it's not just their families, it's all the corporate entities, it's all the schools, all the hospitals, all the different nonprofits, and just so we can highlight this so that those who may not tie into the community can see these things. That to me is the ultimate benefit of this parade.
James, let me put you on the spot. Do you have a favorite in the parade? One group that shows
tricky.
up. I know, I'm going to put them right on the spot in the hot seat.
Black veterans of social justice.
Yes, and we saw them about 10 minutes ago coming through.
It makes a difference, doesn't it? Why did you pick that group?
They roll their sleeves up and they get dirty as far as working to help our veterans and their families who are dealing with different issues, different social needs, everything ranging from housing to employment to food insecurity. And so I can't say enough about that organization.
That's awesome. And meanwhile, we're looking at all the colleges that are out supporting. Rutgers University right now represented.
And Berkeley College, we have a number coming through.
And it's important to note, you know, we're having representation from across the country, actually earlier across the world. We've had armed service representation from Europe and beyond. And not surprising, since this is the largest Veterans Day parade in the country.
By the way, Rutgers ranked in the top 15 best for vets colleges by Military Times since 2012. So a lot of vets wanting to pursue that college career after they've left the military. We are coming right back for more of the New York City Veterans Day Parade on Channel 7.
Back to the 103rd New York City Veterans Day Parade, broadcast live on Channel 7. We just showed you a little video as we came back from commercial of the U.S. Coast Guard. They are this year's featured branch. Since 1790, they've defended the American people on the seas, the coastline, waterways of the U.S. and beyond. And in fact, this year's Grand Marshal, Vincent Patton III, who we spoke to earlier.
Right, and right now, just the tail end of Towson University marching band, one of the most prestigious marching bands on the East Coast. And they've got about 200 students participating. Not the best day to be in a parade as far as the weather, but it's not cold.
We got it. We've got this.
Fairly mild, although
nobody's
a little wet.
Complaining. And look, Con Ed's out there. They're used to bad weather. Thank goodness they're used to bad weather, helping us out. They're represented here on the Veterans Day Parade March. So wonderful to see.
So much great participation this year.
It really is. You know, we have another guest we want to introduce you to, and it's pretty interesting. Founded in December 2019, the Space Force protects U.S. and allied interests in space and provides space capabilities to the joint force. Let's go to Stefan Kim with the special guest who can tell us more. Stefan.
Well, David, I'm here joined by a special guest, Colonel Carrie Bellemere from the U.S. Space Force, trying our best not to get run over by a marching band here. Colonel, thank you for joining us. This is the newest branch of the military, so for that reason, a lot of folks, not everyone may know what the U.S. Space Force is all about. Can you tell us more about that?
Sure. Well, the Space Force is new, yes. We're about to have our 3rd birthday, but we've been doing stuff in space for about several decades now. So, satellite communications, GPS, navigation, timing, so many things in space that we do that most people may or may not know about, or don't know who's doing it. They just turn on their phones and think everything works magically, but without Space Force, smartphones would be dumb phones. So that's what we like to say, that you got GPS, you're welcome. So it's just try to have fun with it. But
thank you for helping us not get lost. I'm going to ask you to sort of be a little competitive with the other branches here. For any young man or woman who is considering joining, enlisting any of the branches, why join the Space Force over the other branches?
Well, that's a great question, Stefan. So I would argue that the Space Force has fairly predictable locations where we go. I would say we don't have as many deployment opportunities as the other branches, but we still do have challenging assignments. But by and large, it's a pretty family-friendly service, and we're trying to be a digital service as well. So it kind of appeals to the younger generation to gather talent and keep that talent going for the Space Force and doing great things for this country in space.
That was a pretty good pitch. Much better than the pitch I got when I joined the Army. So thank you for that. Last question to you as we close this out. What message do you have for New Yorkers on this Veterans Day?
Oh, New York, thank you for this amazing event. It's crazy. They just keep coming, right? And then you guys do it again at the Macy's Day Parade, and then you got the ball drop in New York. I mean, it's an amazing city, and I'm super excited to be a part of it. I thank New York for hosting us. You've been amazing hosts, and I really can't say enough cool things about this city. So thank you for what you do for us.
Well, thank you for joining us, taking the time, and happy Veterans Day to you, sir.
All right, thank you, sir.
All right, guys, back to you guys in the booth.
Thanks, Stefan. We've been talking about how companies are employing veterans. Right now, you're looking at AT&T Veterans Employee Group. It has existed for 37 years and has more than 7,000 plus members in 40 chapters across the country. James Hendon, who oversees the city's Department of Veterans Affairs. We've been talking this afternoon about how important it is for veterans to find jobs and companies that are building their programs to offer opportunities.
I think it means so much when companies do step right into this mission and say, look, we want to embrace this. We want to be intentional about bringing on veterans and their family members. We know that for the military, it's roughly 83% of all who join the military are actually relatives of someone who is also in. So it's that idea that we don't just recruit people, we recruit families. And it is great to see our corporate friends take this similar approach of, we want this family that is the service members, and that is their loved ones, to be a part of us.
You know, it's interesting, when I looked at your bio, you were a veteran entrepreneur yourself. You were the CEO of the Energy Economic Development Corporation. I like how this is a combination of taking advantage of energy-related advancements. Tell us more about that.
You know, I think that there's so much opportunity here in trying to fight for our children's future when it comes to issues involving energy efficiency and what we can do with conservation and renewables and things like that. And so that organization really focuses on green job opportunities. So just trying to help folks have economic empowerment through what we think will be the new normal as far as finding different ways to deal with climate change.
And I know for those of us with little ones like yourself and me, we want them to be holding our future, and we want to preserve it for them.
Right now we're looking at the New York Hummer Squad. Just like throw that in there so we can track a little
but that
of
is
what's going
so cool. I'm glad you brought our attention to that. Look at that. That's a stretch
It's
Hummer.
an official auto club whose members love, I guess, the Hummer brand. It's a safe bet, right?
So those were military vehicles, or are, at Do you happen to know that, James?
It's
from
got to
your
be a conversion
service?
on it, so a take on it.
Sure looks like a.
Yeah, I think it's an evolution of what we saw as far as this type of vehicle in the World War II. There is moved to the present. I think what's so interesting when we see these things is just where innovation is, as far as just trying to become more efficient with how we do all these different aspects of things, with even the Hummers coming into the future, and all the opportunities this creates for members of the military community and their families when it comes to what is that 21st century opportunity that they can help folks get to that next level.
James Hendon, you've been so helpful providing some insights, not just from your experience as a veteran, but also as the head of the city's Department of Veterans Affairs. We appreciate all the work you're doing on behalf of veterans.
Did you say that number again for people to reach out?
212-416-5250. So the New York City Department of Veteran Services, 212-416-5250.
Really appreciate it. We're going to take a short break and leave you with the sights and sounds of the Veterans Day Parade, 103rd New York City Veterans Day Parade here in New York City.
Academy campus.
Welcome back, everyone. You are watching the 103rd Annual Veterans Day Parade live from New York City's 5th Avenue. You are watching right here on ABC 7.
Looking at the Maritime College group coming up to 5th Avenue right now. I'm going to take this moment to remind you of something that we call #Buddy Check. It's something every service member and veteran can do as a way to check up on the health and welfare of fellow veterans who might need assistance or simply need to know that someone is there for them. Use Veterans Day to reach out to veterans in your life. Make sure they are okay. And what better way to use Buddy Check than today? All right, so #Buddy Check. Use that as a way to just kind of spread the word.
That's right, and you don't have to be a veteran to check on a veteran. You could just be a neighbor or a friend. Right now, you're looking at Manhattan College coming through. We've seen a number of universities and colleges. This is a student veterans organization. And of course, Manhattan College, partner in post 9/11 GI Bill Yellow Ribbon Program. Their Veterans at Ease program helps to facilitate successful transition from the military to civilian and academic life, and from academic life to post-collegiate life.
There's so much history with so many of the groups here. This group, for example, has been committed to doing this kind of work for over 150 years. So they're proudly marching on that. You know, we've had the rain, but it just did not stop us. It was one of those kind of drizzly, kind of, you know, it was there, but the temperatures were warm enough, and just all I was witnessing during this entire event was smiles and pride, and everybody just shook off the rain.
And you know, this is just a light rain. This is nothing for the military.
So doable.
We're a little wimpy up here. We're trying to be brave.
Right. The Navy and Coast Guard particularly were laughing at us. They were like, "Are you kidding? This is nothing."
We have the SAGE vets coming through right now, an important organization that helps our gay, lesbian, transgender community. So many groups represented today, and so much pride. We are so thrilled to be taking part in this, learning so much as well about our veterans and about all of these organizations that have been set up to help them to make the transition from military life to the regular world, or to working, or to going and getting a degree after they've served.
It's just an opportunity for us to realize the unseen work that's being done to help the veterans. And you know, we hear about some of the big stories in terms of engagements and such, but it's what's happening behind and when they have to come back to the United States. So such a critical day for us to say thank you, and to remember this is maybe one day, but there's going to be every day is a day for us to thank the veterans for what they do.
For sure, and we have not been doing this alone. We have our friends on the red carpet right now, right in the heart of the parade. Let's go over to Stefan and Elise.
Well, David, now I know what it feels like to be a happy duck. I can't believe it's almost over. At least my favorite part about this parade every year is the honor guard. It just takes so much discipline and practice to get that so perfect on the timing. What was your favorite part?
I think my favorite part, of course, is the celebrating service, but to see the civilians lined all the way down 5th Avenue in the rain with the smiles, coming coming out in full force. You know, the military always comes out in full force, and Vietnam Veterans of America, their slogan is never again will one generation of veterans abandon another. And we see that here live on Fifth Avenue, as well as civilians lining the streets supporting too. So it's just so special, and that's my favorite.
It is pretty cool on Fifth Avenue along the route, right in the rain, right? David and Lauren should just join us down here on Fifth Avenue in the rain, right?
With our smiles. They have smiles up there too, and we're all smiling down here.
Well, we had a good time. We always have a good time, right? Thank you, everyone. Thank you, veterans. Thank you, Elise, for everything that you do to advocate for veterans. Back to you guys in the booth.
You know, you think that you had it all wet down there. My notes were so wet. I actually just said there were 200,000 participants, but it was 20,000. I couldn't read my notes. I was
It felt like 200,000.
There's nothing left in here.
I know. I think half of David is damp on the other side, and this side it is not. Your favorite part was the military precision. I love the bands. I love the music. I love the enthusiasm. I love seeing the crowds. I saw people up in buildings watching the parade. It was truly a New York moment, and what an honor to be part of it.
It really is, and such a pleasure to work with all of you in honoring our veterans today.
So we hope that you join us in future years as we celebrate Veterans Day, but we are so thrilled that you joined us for this, the 103rd annual New York City Veterans Day Parade.
You know, on behalf of the United War Veterans Council, Channel 7, ABC 7, and all of us here at 2022 New York City Veterans Day Parade, thank you. Thank you to all the veterans who have served our country, and thank you for joining us.